you talked about in the influences you sent us, the different production methods and techniques of these people you've worked with. And just as a sort of meta thing, I think one of the things I'm most curious about on a technical level, not that we need to get into it in detail, but I'm interested because I talk with a lot of mixing and engineers and stuff, and they all have different, it's interesting, they all seem to have different mental models of the human voice, because the human voice is so complicated. It's sort of like the gold standard, I would think, of any instrument, the thing all
Sure.
other recordings are kind of gauged off of. So I've just noticed that they all have their own weird things, and they almost can't describe it sometimes. And sometimes they'll use anatomy, like the throat or the nose or these things. And I was talking with, I don't know, I'm just so fascinated with the way different audio engineers approach the voice. It's like they almost can't describe what they're doing, but there's so much going on with the way that they try to capture it. And I'd be curious to know what your kind of philosophy is on that.
Well, recording a voice is, the most important part is the emotional state of the singer, because if they're not feeling great about it and they just blow it off and sing a take and say, see you later, then all the technical tricks in the world, well, I mean, they can salvage it, but I don't want to do that stuff.
Right.
Like, I don't want to sit there and feel like I've got to tune every syllable. I've got to like put it in time, but I can do that, but I don't like it. So I want to make it so, because it's not like a musical process to me. What I find the most, what inspires me is when a singer walks in and goes, all right, here's what I got, you know, and they sing their tail off, and maybe, you know, like it helps how they work the microphone, and I'll talk to them a little bit about that, but it's not that crucial. What's crucial is the emotion of how they sing, and that they're trying to communicate something, that this song means a certain thing to them and they want it to come across. I mean, there are, you know, people who are just professional singers who, if you tell them an attitude you want, they can do it because they're, you know, like in Los Angeles, we have some of the best studio singers on the planet, and you tell them you want it to sound like the Eagles, and they can do it. Or you want it to sound like Chicago, or you know whatever. Like you want to sound like Pink. Oh, okay, sure, okay. But I mean, if you want Pink to sound like Pink, like you got to make sure she's in a position. I haven't worked with her personally, but like with most, you know, really good artists, like they have to be in an emotional position so they can deliver what only they can deliver.
Oh, that makes sense. So you think of it from the kind of a high level of comfort and like the human experience, and making them feel at ease to fully express what they're doing. Technical part, less important.
There's technical aspects to it that I said a couple times, like I kind of like remind them of, but if they don't do that stuff because they're comfortable doing it the way they've done it 100 times, and it feels like $1 million,
yeah, okay,
I'll make that stuff work. Like if there's something a little out of tune, but it feels great, then I'll fix it.
Yeah.
But it's funny because I was in Thailand last year doing a record I really liked, and this great young singer, and he did a few takes that were really good, and so I think we comped the vocal, and it was really not much to do. And then they had somebody tune the voice. I listened to it and I said, what the heck is that? That's not him.
Yeah.
Okay. And so they went back and undid it. So like they respect my opinion, so that to where if I said, hey, this isn't working, like then they'll redo it. But I don't have to sit there and like tune every note. You know, so it's like I have kind of like a perspective where I could, you know, judge what happened and, you know, be like a.
You know, yeah, I went through a Barbra Streisand phase. I think it was at the beginning of COVID, actually, as one does.
I didn't know that.
And I was listening to, she was doing a lot of collaborations. There's some stuff out there where she was collaborating with all these other artists, and she was almost helping them create narrative within their singing. like the way she does it, when she starts singing, she starts finding all these like emotional rhythms within her voice while she's singing. And it sounds like that's kind of what you're referring to, is when they're really into it and engaged, their almost personality starts coming out through their performance itself. Is that kind of what you're referring to too? It's almost like a snapshot also of how they're feeling even above the lyrics itself, almost two different waves of narrative going on at one time potentially.
Yeah, I suppose so. I mean, it's just a matter of, is what I think they're trying to communicate coming across? And like when they feel like, oh, that was the best take I've ever done, if I kind of feel like, okay, now that I know that, I understand what you're trying to do, and here's what I think about it. Like once I understand the emotion of what they're trying to put across, then I can be more helpful in terms of like, are they getting there?
Yeah.
Because I understand the depth of their talent, and that like this is a brand new song. Because some one of the coolest things about what I get to do is when people come in and play brand new music, like it's never been heard before and it's never come out of the speakers. And so after they play it, they walk in and listen to it, and it's a brand new thing. And for them to go, oh yeah, man, that is killer. And nobody talks about, hey, that's the best kick drum I've ever heard. Like it doesn't matter, but what matters is that they feel something. They feel what they need to feel when they hear it back.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what we just did, and that's really working. Or they might come in and listen, and once they hear it come out of the speakers, go, okay, we got to work on a couple things.
Yeah. One of my questions was because of the people that you had named, was like, what is the role of a music producer? But I think you're essentially telling us that right now. So it's kind of like, would you say a combination of a coach of a professional sports team and a conductor of a symphony or something like that? And you got to figure out which levers to kind of pull at different periods of time. Would you say that's kind of their role, or what would you?
I suppose so, because it's just really hard to like put it, like you said, other people, they can't really define what they do. And I can't really define what I do either, especially when it comes to producing, because like a lot of times I'll sit in the room with a guitar player and a singer and the head of the record company, and we'll say, okay, here's this song we want to do. Now, how do we want to do it? And then I'll say, well, I think you should hire this drummer and this bass player and this keyboard player. We should do it at this studio, and it'll cost $50,000. I go, and I don't know why I know that, but I can figure it out. And that's when they go, wait. And that's a part where it just takes experience to go, okay, this guy will do this and it'll take this long. And if he needs, like I kind of know how it all will fit together. And then like they might say, no, I don't really like that guitar player, or, and I can say, well, okay, I got another one. What do you? So like, because like I have ideas about when I hear a song, how I think it ought to go. But like I said before, it's not my record. So that's the hard part, is when you invest something in it, like in terms of, I think this ought to go in this direction. If the person you work with goes, well, I like that, but I would take it like this, then you have to know how to adapt and still be able to say, yeah, that's me.
Yeah, I was looking up Ron Fair and kind of digging into who he was, and one of the things that he said in a fairly recent interview, it's actually like quite old now, like maybe 5 years ago or something, but he said he considers himself a musical dad now to this younger generation. And I think that's kind of like what you're referring to. You bring all your experience, and you're able just to know based off of experience of what, and just at least outline to them what their options are, right? It sounds like that's more your practice, is saying, hey, these are kind of your options. This is what it's going to cost. This is kind of like this, which is really funny. And he says he's now out-aged a lot of the music